Welcome in. It is time for the Fade Sweet 16 edition. I am Clay Travis. She is Kelly Stewart, sunburned in a casita in Cabo. Not a bad place probably to be watching the NCAA tournament Sweet 16s. I don't know how your picks have gone, Kelly. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I love the Mayan Riviera area of Mexico. I think it's beautiful. I've been down there a lot. I have never been to Cabo. If some of our viewers out there have never been to Cabo, assuming that you are not going to be kidnapped by a Mexican cartel, how would you compare Cabo to like the Mayan Riviera, Cancun area of Mexico? Which is better?
Thursday and Friday was actually so bad, Clay. I thought about faking my own death and having somebody from the cartel fake kidnap me. So to go along with how bad that was, I did hit some nice little underdogs. Not big ones, but just enough to save some face. Cabo's wonderful, right? They have great food, fun nightclubs. It's spring break, and so I'm feeling incredibly old this week. But we're actually staying in Cabo, San Jose del Cabo, which is like an hour outside of Cabo San Lucas. So yesterday we rented a boat. Gorgeous. The water is freezing and the beaches are small rocks. But we got to see whales, which is something I've never got to see in the wild, which was
how close
incredibly
did you
cool.
get to the whales?
Less than 100 yards probably. They didn't come that close to our boats, but there were out there, some humpbacks out there doing some tricks. I tried to get some video on my cell phone. It's not the greatest, but for what it was pretty fun to witness them. It's mating season apparently. I had no idea. But I agree with you, Clay. I'm a Riviera Maya person as well. Love going to Tulum, Isla Mujeres, to name a few places, because the water is warm. And I can see if there is something in there that might want to eat me.
All right, so I've got a question for you. Since you're on vacation right now, too, did you see Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? They were in the Bahamas, and the photos of them came out. And everybody's been losing their mind. So I got a couple of questions for you. One, let's start here. I am of the opinion that we should not normalize, especially these days, secret photos of people, even if they're famous, right? Like, so if you want to walk up to somebody and be like, hey, could I get a picture taken with you? I'm totally fine with that. The person can react however they want. I think the idea that you would be with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your kids on vacation, and we have normalized, because everybody has a phone, taking photos of them in beachwear. I think it's weird. I think most people would not want that. Are you pro or con the idea of secret photos of celebrities being able to be taken?
So I am obviously of the argument that it should not happen. As somebody who yesterday so we got off the boat, some of the friends have kids, they decided to go to dinner. Brett and I decided to go to Mango Deck and watch a wet t-shirt and booty shaking contest. And all I could think was,
by the way,
thank God, that was on spring break. They did not have cell phones, because every single person had their cell phone out recording, and I'm thinking, I would have been toast. I would never going to do this show, The Fade with Clay and Kelly, because there would be some.
Wait, I'm going to cut you off here, because I got to know. I didn't know that wet T-shirt contests were still a thing. So you went and watched a wet T-shirt contest. Were there a lot of girls in it? What was the prize? Because to your point, when I was on spring break, nobody had like phones, and so if you were a girl in a wet T-shirt contest, like, your boobs were not visible for the next 4 years on the internet. So I'm stunned the girls still do it. So were these college girls? Who were the contenders? What was the payoff?
I'm guessing they were college girls. Here's where I got really appalled and really disappointed at the younger generation.
Appalled?
There was no prize money outside of free drinks.
Oh, wow.
Clay Travis, and people know when I was in college, we had Beauty on the Beach. We had other bikini contests. That's how I got my first trip to Las Vegas, was I won one of those. They paid you real American dollars. These girls got paid in cheap tequila, and they have no dignity left, because every single person that was at the Mango Deck yesterday has a recording of them shaking their ass.
Man, I didn't know. Maybe I needed to go to Cabo. I actually had this conversation with Laura, my wife, recently. I was like, I think cell phones killed wet T-shirt contests. This actually, I agree with. So, but In a wet T-shirt contest, you are agreeing on some level to put yourself out there. You aren't being randomly photoed like at a pool when you don't know, right? So I'm glad that you got to see it. I'm jealous that you got to, I'm glad that they still exist, all right? So that's point one. Point two, I knew he was going to get ripped. I actually think people have no clue what the average normal dude, even a high-level athlete, looks like without a shirt on. Like, Travis Kelce is obviously in 99.9 percentile health, right? Like, he sprints up and down the field for 3 hours. He gets the crap knocked out of him. He blocks. I mean, nobody, by and large, the average dude cannot do what he does, but he's getting ripped for having a dad bod. I even saw people, Kelly, ripping Taylor Swift for not. I thought Taylor Swift looked better in a bikini than I expected. What is your analysis, even though secret photos, everything else, of all, since you're in Mexico right now, sunburn, of the beach bod of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?
As somebody who took a bunch of photos yesterday, we're on the boat. I'm taking selfies. We're in front of the arch. We're enjoying ourselves. I'm like, okay, I feel good. Been hitting the gym, been eating really clean before this trip. We also had a private photographer on the boat. And afterwards, he's like, hey, do you guys want any of these photos? And I looked and I said, absolutely not. Are you trying to ruin my life? So no, you're not always posing correctly. Sometimes you're just casually leaned up, talking to one of your girlfriends, having a margarita. Sometimes you're bent over, picking something up off the ground. I mean, what is... do we not remember what the shirtless pictures of Tom Brady looks like? I laughed hysterically at those, and I still do. At the Combine, when he's 23, 24 years old, he looks better now than he did then. He's just standing there. You're not having any composure. My life would probably be over if somebody leaked the pictures of me walking down the beach like they did Taylor Swift. But that's exactly what I expected Travis Kelce to look like.
I went to the water park in East Tennessee this past August with my 3 kids. They were like, Dad, please, can we go to the water park? Can we go to the water park? It is like the king redneck thing. I get it, to go to water parks. We go to a lot of water parks, the Travis family, all over the place. I'm walking around shirtless in my bathing suit. The number of people that in East Tennessee water park that know me is going to be pretty high. The Smoky Mountains, like, right? And Laura turns to me and she says, I knew I should have brought you the swim shirt. Now, look, when your own wife is telling you that you should not be walking around without a shirt on at a water park, it's not the best thing that happens for your overall self-confidence. But I'm thinking to myself, there's, like this whole idea, what percentage of people would be okay, to your point, with a photo being taken of them at a water park or a beach with their family without them knowing? I think it's like below 1%. So I think we normalize all these things that are ordinarily, like, if you did it in your real life, if somebody did it to you, you would be pissed off about it. And even to your point, like, you guys had a photographer, but you're going through, like, if you want to take pictures yourself and post them, I'm all in favor of it. If you want to ask for a photo, I'm totally fine with it. Normalizing, like, secret, surreptitious photos, I just think we got to fight back again.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take a photo with you. I mean, there was, when we were at the UT game, my aunt and I was not well the next morning. We walk into a dumpy diner in Austin, Texas, and a guy's like, can I take a photo with you? And I said, absolutely not. And my aunt goes, you're not that vain. I said, ma'am, I am not feeling the greatest. I have no makeup on. My hair is in a knot on my head. I am actually appalled that this man recognizes me. I'm embarrassed for myself. No, I am not taking a photo.
I've never turned down a photo, but the reality is I also never look good in them. So my expectation for, like the best I'm going to look and the worst I'm going to look, there's like not a lot of variation. It's always mediocre at best. By the way, we're not just filibustering. I got murdered. I got murdered in the NCAA tournament picks. I've lost every single day. I lost Thursday, I lost Friday, I lost Saturday, and I lost Sunday. I think the best I did was I think I went 7-9, 7-9, 3-5, 3-5. I bet every game. I lost 4 straight days. I've got 8 picks Thursday and Friday. Did you have any success at all? Favorites basically just covered everything. I would have been blindly better.
Oh, no, not the favorites favorite. That I bet. I bet 3 favorites. Sunday night play.
Kentucky. I had Kentucky and I had Auburn, which were basically the only 2 favorites to lose. So otherwise, a lot of underdogs got murdered.
San Diego State didn't cover against UAB, being up double digits. It's been apparently my emojis are on my computer screen. Great,
you know, Deuces, like yes.
Does it do the balloons?
There we go. Yes.
Oh boy, we do not deserve those balloons, Clay. I did hit Northwestern. Got very lucky there in overtime. That team looked toast early. Utah State, Grand Canyon. So easy. They gave me a little solace going into Saturday. KU tied at half. I think maybe up 1.5. No showed second half. Texas almost came back and beat your Vols for me. Couldn't get it done. You guys squeak out another win. I'm betting against you guys again this week, though. Don't you worry.
By the way, we'll get to that. How about Creighton covering in double OT against Oregon? Oregon was plus 6.5 and ended up losing by 13, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I had Oregon, of course. Now, I did get a cover. NC State, on the flip side, covered against Oakland. They had no business covering that game, and they covered in overtime. I feel like you should, the same way, Kelly, and I guess you can do it with live wagering, but when you're playing blackjack and the dealer shows an ace and he asks you, hey, do you want to, basically, withdraw? I feel like you should get an option that pops up on your phone if you have the underdog and it goes to overtime, where you just get your money back, you can tap out, because losing a game in overtime when you bet the underdog and having the favorite cover is a real kick in the teeth. I mean, of all gambling losses, I think.
No, it's gonna happen. I have a feeling we are going to start seeing that become an option where, in hockey, you can bet a game in regulation. I feel like there's going to be some sports book that says, all right, fine, we're going to just offer games in regulation. We're going to market it, and we are going to price it accordingly. Because you're absolutely right, Clay. My friends and I joked terribly. We call them the Rainbow Bridge, because that's where dogs go to die in overtime. I think probably 3 dogs this year in college basketball have won for me in overtime, won or covered for me. I mean, it has just been a complete and utter bloodbath when you have the dog in OT. Like I said, Northwestern in overtime, I got very lucky with. They absolutely dominated in that game. I was not on Oregon or Creighton in that one, but man, it felt like I was on Oregon. It felt like if I had bet this game, I'd have been on Oregon, and I know exactly how everybody in the room felt with me. It was just one of those weekends. Chalk, I think it was 32-11. The public team, not necessarily the favorite, but the public team. So a team getting more than 60% of the tickets on one side, one outright. I mean, I saw girls that I've never seen out give sports picks in their life hit 16 parlays on Thursday and Friday, and I'm going, you are kidding me.
Yeah, it was not ideal. Okay, let's dive into Thursday. Here are my 4. I'm betting every game. I'm going to continue, even though I'm losing money hand over fist. I'm going to tell you what I've got, and then we'll circle back around. Well, let's just go in order. There's only 8 games. Clemson, Arizona, I'm on the over. Clemson's a bit of an enigma. Arizona, the offense has been firing on all cylinders. I love that they're going to be able to play in L.A., where they're going to have a huge home court advantage. I think Arizona will play well. I think the pace will be fast. Clemson can score. They can run. I'm taking the over 152.5. Are you playing this one at all?
So I'm in a Survivor League, Clay, and I'm really thinking Arizona is going to be the most popular pick, but I really don't want to waste UConn on that side of the bracket. I'm kind of in this conundrum because here's an Arizona team that just hasn't been historically good as of late, right? Sweet 16, 1-6 against the spread as a favorite in their last 7 Sweet 16 games. And then here's this Clemson team. And maybe I just didn't watch enough ACC basketball, but Clemson came out of nowhere, in my opinion. They were great. I had them +4 against Baylor on Sunday. I didn't think they were going to get the outright win. I thought maybe 2-3-point loss, get the cover. Baylor advances. Wrong. They have just been shocking everyone. I think Arizona is going to be one of the more popular picks this weekend. But I don't want to step in front of Arizona any other way that I'm probably going to have to burn them in my survivor pool. I would not be shocked, though, to see Clemson stay on this tear. I mean, are they even considered a Cinderella? I don't even know.
No, it's a good question. So I've got the over. San Diego State, UConn. UConn has obliterated everybody. They have been playing phenomenally well. They're obviously the overall favorite to win. I'm going to take San Diego State plus the points. I think this will be a low-scoring game. I think San Diego State can take a little bit of the air out of this game. slow down UConn, almost a little bit like Northwestern did, just that I think San Diego State has more horses than Northwestern did. So I'm taking San Diego State as the double-digit underdog. You?
Yeah, I don't want to step in front of this UConn team. I have a futures bet from another podcast that I do, Clay, and I was so pissed when the audience said, let's see UConn plus 750. Well, right now they're the odds-on favorite not only to win their region, to win the whole thing. San Diego State, great story. You know, we saw this as a national championship last year, so that makes it more fun to watch. But I can't step in front of this UConn train. San Diego State, Utah State, the only two Mountain West teams that were okay in this tournament here. Ah, man, this is tough. This is a lot of points, especially with higher-seeded dogs being so profitable. You would think I'd want to jump on the Aztec bandwagon. Just can't do it.
I got burned on this one, go figure, on the round of 32 game. I took Alabama in the over, hit them on the over in the first game where they were just running up and down the court. Charleston, they went way over. Bama scored 100. I think the pace of game between Bama UNC is going to resemble what we saw with Alabama Florida in the SEC, Kelly. The number is high, 173.5. I'm going over this 173.5. Lots of possessions. I think both teams will score 85 or more. I understand that that is a huge number, and that one of these guys may hit 100. You with me or against me? The line is down to like 3.5 UNC. Bama's got horses. I just think ultimately the over's the better play.
Yeah, there's no way I'm taking the under here. There's been a couple of what I thought were obvious overs, and I stayed away, and they just went flying over the total. This is another one of those. I don't know if the bookmakers can make the line high enough here. Alabama doesn't play any defense, Clay. How are you going to trust this team? Their only option to beat their opponents is to outscore them. If they get hot from three and you're holding an under ticket, that sounds like a nauseating way to live your life. I agree with you. It's over or pass here. I wanted to lay it with North Carolina when the line came out on Sunday night. I thought, okay, I'm going to end up laying it here with the Tar Heels. I don't trust this Alabama team. They haven't been great all season on the road. They've kind of, snuck their way in here. Granted, they should have. They've been favored the whole way. I don't trust Nate Oates. He already got his contract renewed. What say you? It gets up to 4.5. Next thing I know, I'm starting looking at Alabama going, well, I don't really think that North Carolina deserved to be that 4th one seed. What do we know about Hubert Davis, though? Well, Hubert Davis likes to cover numbers, and he's historically done very well the last 3 years. So I'm staying off this one. Again, I went back and forth way too much to even get involved, but lean towards the over with you.
All right, last one on Thursday. Let me just say this, too. I'm probably going to be old man on this. What are we doing with the 10 p.m. Eastern tip-offs? I mean, I know you're right now in Cabo. I think you're on, that's the Pacific time zone. So, it's still going to be relatively early for you on these tips. We'll get to the Creighton, Tennessee game here at the end, which is the last game tipping off basically on Friday. It's tipping off at like 10:15 Eastern on the East Coast. Like they're playing in Detroit. I don't understand this at all. Illinois, Iowa State. I'm on Iowa State minus 1.5. This is the lowest line, basically nearly a pick 'em. I'm taking Iowa State. That has been on a roll, obviously. And I think that roll continues against Illinois. Do you feel strongly either way?
I shouldn't, but I did take the points here with the Illini and Brad Underwood. This is an Iowa State team that I think deserves all the flowers, and I don't want to take that away from them. TJ has done a great job there in Ames, but I have some questions here about what we've seen from Iowa State, how good they really are, and I think the cream is going to really rise to the top. I made this game a pick 'em, so when it was plus 2.5, I thought there was some real value here on the Illini. Down to 2, 1.5 pretty much everywhere. I think if you like the Illini with me, you take them on the money line here. Look, defensive field goal percentage is Iowa State's big stronghold. We know that they are a great defensive team, but I think the Illini have the horses to be able to back it up, and that is why we see this total a little bit higher than I expected it to come out.
All right, so that's Thursday's game. So is that your favorite bet, Illinois of Thursday?
No, I would say my favorite bet on Thursday. Yeah, actually, you're right. That is the only game I bet on Thursday. I take that back. Illinois plus 2 is the only Thursday bet that I actually got to the window with. I got 2 that I bet on Friday.
All right, so let's go to Friday's games. And by the way, I'm going in the order of tip if you're paying attention in your gambling parlance here. So if you catch us, like let's say you just watched this on Friday, I've got NC State plus 6.5 against Marquette. NC State is really the only quote-unquote Cinderella, and I don't know that you can count a Power 5 conference team as a Cinderella, but they had to win 5 in the ACC tournament, had to get remarkably lucky against Virginia to even get into the championship game against North Carolina. And honestly, I know they won in overtime against Oakland, but they kind of rolled. I mean, this is 7 games in a row. They get their legs under them. They get a chance. Marquette played really poorly in the first half of their game against Western Kentucky, I think it was. They were okay, fell behind against Colorado. I just don't think they've played very well. They kind of remind me a little bit of Tennessee, 2 seed that is in the Sweet 16 but hasn't necessarily, other than one half against Western Kentucky, played that well. I'm going to take NC State plus the points. Do you have a read on either of these?
I did not play this game, Clay, but I lean towards the other side. I was looking at Marquette and possibly my survivor pool to utilize them, thinking, okay, Houston or Duke, who am I going to play there? I don't think NC State's going to be able to get the win. Shaka Smart, man, what he's been able to do with Marquette has been nothing short of incredible. I really enjoy their style of play. Here's the thing with NC State, man. I mentioned about Clemson. Maybe I just didn't watch enough ACC basketball. NC State, everybody said coming in this tournament they were going to have tired legs. Where are the tired legs? When do they show up? I can't, for the life of me, figure that out. Marquette, I had them, I think 6th or 7th going into the tournament. Obviously, they are 2 seed, but I think I did have them as my second 2 seed. So something to keep an eye on there. When the cream starts to rise to the top, we're going to find out on Friday night what NC State's got left in the tank. Man, if I don't end up on Marquette, I do hope they lose outright, though, so it knocks some people out of the pool.
Next game, Gonzaga plus 5.5 against Purdue is my play. This is 9 straight Sweet 16s for Mark Few. I like the Zags. I bet and won on both games of theirs so far in the tournament. Kelly, sometimes I kind of get into the psychology side. Gonzaga has been a huge favorite in the last several years in the tournament. The pressure has been monumental on them. Kind of shoe on the other foot here. Purdue played phenomenally well in the final 25 minutes or so against Utah State. Obviously, last year they lost as a 16 seed. They lost to the 16 seed as a 1 seed. They are trying to replicate what Virginia did, which is lose in the first round, come back and win 6 straight and win the title the next year. I think Purdue is a tough matchup for a lot of teams, but I like the Zags plus the points going up against the Boilermakers. What say you?
I'll give you the inverse of what you just said, because I think you're absolutely right. Now, when you become the hunter versus the hunted, it's a little bit different. Now that the Zags are an underdog, I don't know if this stat really pertains, but Mark Few 0-7 against 1 seeds in his career at Gonzaga, just 1-6 against the spreads. I laid 5.5 with Purdue this morning. I think Purdue has a really good shot here to do what Virginia did. I think that they've been playing really solid basketball. I don't trust the Zags. This has been a really down year. I watched quite a bit of the West Coast Conference, shockingly. Had a lot of times where I was betting against Gonzaga because they
watched a lot of that too.
They really remind me of
Kansas. I bought into St. Mary's.
Yes, and I did not buy into St. Mary's in the tournament, but I did buy into them winning the West Coast Conference. But I will say this. This is going to be a really good game, I actually think, because you're right. From a psychological perspective, Gonzaga has nothing to lose now. They didn't have the greatest year. They now get to go after this 1 seed that they've never been able to beat. Purdue was one of those other teams that I was really looking at debating, hey, am I going to play them on Friday just to get the win? I did lay 5.5. Admittedly, heard a sharp group was on them. Still had a 5.5 available, so I took it. Like I said, man, sometimes you just gotta see the ball go through the hoop, Clay. You just need a W.
This is one of those situations where at least one of us is going to have a good time because we're on opposite sides on almost every game so far. Duke Houston. I know when I was looking at this, Ken Pomeroy, who I love looking at his numbers, has Duke right now as the, let's see what we got here, as a top defense, right? The one of the top defenses, top 20. Houston, they have overall number 2, but the number is all the way down at 133.5. And I watched and enjoyed that game, Texas A&M against Houston. I actually think Houston hasn't played that many elite offenses, and I think that they can score and also be scored upon. This number being all the way down at 133.5, Kelly. I took the over. I think both of these teams can get to the 70s. If we do that, obviously the over hits with ease. So this is one that I'm hopping on the over. I understand sometimes you say when the numbers are low, go under. When the numbers are high, go over. That's a general rule sometimes that gamblers follow, but I'm taking the over 133.5.
Yeah, I mentioned all the other conferences that I watched. Of course, I watched the Big 12 the most, Clay. Have you not seen this Houston defense? I would not be taking an over. They are absolutely smothering. Shout out to Kelvin Sampson doing just enough against crappy teams to maybe get the cover, maybe not, depending on when you bet it. Keeping things rather interesting. But I'll say this much. Giving up 93 points was kind of shocking for this said defense. I think they get things kind of right the ship, if you will. I lean towards the under. I lean towards Houston here. This is a Duke team that just historically, we know they're a blue blood and there's nothing to take away from. But they're just not good against the spread because their name is Duke. I think a lot of people are going to be jumping on the Duke bandwagon here, catching the 4.5, but I lean towards Houston in this one.
All right, I would go 0-7, happily lose all of my gambling money if Tennessee beats Creighton. That's how much I care about this. I would pay an embarrassing amount of money for Tennessee to finally make a Final Four after all my years of rooting for them. I'm not emotionally hedging, though. I'm taking Tennessee minus 2.5. And the real question here for me is Tennessee going to make shots? Because you mentioned that Texas game, Kelly. I was losing my mind. It wasn't that Texas was playing unbelievable defense. Tennessee started off 1 for 21 from 3. 1 for 21. That's almost impossible to do, especially when a lot of them were wide open shots. The Tennessee offense has diminished in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Defense is elite, which has kept them in a lot of games and frankly won them a lot of games this year. I think they will match up well with Creighton. I know that the Big East has been on a tear. What are they, 6-0? The 3 teams from the Big East have not lost yet. They've covered a lot of these games as well. Going to be a tough matchup. Like I said, it's not going to tip off till 10-15 freaking Eastern time. I'm going to have to drink a lot of coffee as an old man to stay up and make sure that I'm still awake at the end of this one and for the tip. But I'm on Tennessee minus 2.5. I think their defense is better than what either of these teams do. I think Dalton Connect will show up and make shots. And I like Tennessee to finally get the lid off the basket, punch a ticket to the Elite Eight, where, frankly, I think Purdue will be and be hard to beat. But I'm on Tennessee. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Do you remember why Rick Barnes?
Friday night.
Do you remember why Rick Barnes got fired from Texas?
Yes,
he didn't do well in the NC. Oh, well, okay, fair enough. But here's my thing. I'll say that much. He didn't do well against the spread or even straight up in the tournament. And so looking at his history, right? We always joke about Izzo in March. Let's talk about Rick Barnes in March. 20-32 against the spread, dating back all of those years. 2-9 straight up at Tennessee against 4 seeds or higher. That is a genuine concern that I have here against a Creighton team that has been scrappy all year long. I'll say this much. McDermott, 0-3 straight up and against the spread off a double-digit win in the tournament. That bodes well for you. 2.5's too many. I think made this game about 1. I would be leaning towards the dog. But, Clay, you might get that last win. This one's going to come down to free throws. And if I have to trust Tennessee to make their free throws, I don't think I can lay it with your team. But I'll be cheering for you. Okay, that's a lie.
All right, so there you have it, all 8 games. What is your favorite bet? What are your favorite couple if you could only bet a couple of games?
If I could only bet 2 of the games, the only games I actually had bet, Illinois +2, Creighton +2.5, and I laid 5.5 with the Boilermakers earlier this morning. This is a really tough run right now. You know, as the favorites have been just cruising along, as the public dogs have been cashing outright. I've been trying to be really methodical. So I'm basically doing the opposite approach of you, Clay. And that is really just being very, very selective, picking my battles wisely. I commend you. You're just going to keep on going, picking every game on the board. So the troll accounts just have something to do.
No doubt. All right. 8 picks. Kelly, have fun in Cabo. And we will be back theoretically maybe next week to get people ready for the Final Four. Adam, thank you, by the way. Adam is over here. We're going to pose. I want to get a picture from behind here because I actually think it's interesting of this setup so people can see it. But we will be back next week. Have fun in Cabo, and good luck to everybody out there betting. We will see you next week. Get your coffee because if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be a late night.